Well, hello and welcome to this video. As I said, I wanted to make a video talking about a very ugly issue, and we're in a very beautiful place, the Pine Barrens, but we're going to be talking about a very ugly issue going on, and that is racism. And it's nothing new. Um, what we see in the White House is a byproduct of many, many years of systematic racism in this country. And I watched a documentary, and I urge you all to watch it, about Hurricane Katrina. And the hurricane really wasn't the real disaster, it was the dysfunction that followed. Um, and I can relate to a lot of what everybody in New Orleans went through. A lot of people, they said the city had to be evacuated, but they said you got to find your own way out of the city. If you didn't have a car or you couldn't afford a car, then you were stuck in the city. And many people were stuck in the city. There was no transportation for them. And many of them were people of color. Many of them were seniors and people with disabilities um, that had to endure hell on earth. And they had to endure things that you wouldn't even imagine. And then the media and the false narrative that they claimed the city was lawless, when there actually wasn't all that much crime. The only looting that was going on, people had to get food to survive, get things to survive from stores. And that was a survival situation because they were left to fend for themselves because there was no way out for them. Uh, in the end, they right before the storm, they said, we have a shelter of last resort, the Superdome, the convention center. You all know about what a disaster that was, and the conditions in there were absolutely horrific. How would you like to be locked in a stadium, no air conditioning, no toilets, no running water, nothing? It's stifling, it's humid, it's dirty, there's human waste everywhere. This is how the people were forced to live for days and days after that hurricane. Many of them are people of color. Um, and when they tried to leave the city on their own, many of them did try, and the mayor said you can cross a bridge to get out. They were stopped. They were stopped by a mainly white, because they were going to cross into a mainly whiter area. So the white people got taken care of with Hurricane Katrina. The people of color got treated like crap. And who was the president back then? George W. Bush, another Republican. Look, I'm not going to say I'm a huge fan of the Democrats, but the Republicans, by far, have shown themselves once again to be the party of racists. They didn't get aid in there. People were asking for buses. People were asking for food. There was no help for them. They were left to fend for themselves, trapped in a flooded city with no power, no sewers, no water. Can you imagine having to live like that for days? And that's what people had to do. They wanted to leave. They couldn't leave because they were offered no way out. The buses did eventually come like a week later because the president and Michael Brown from FEMA, a bunch of George W. Bush at the time, had no idea, and they were just painting the Republican narrative again. Oh well, they act like these. This is the party of racism, folks. And then you have fake Democrats out there like Rich Schaefer who closed. I made a video a while ago about the Venetian Shores Park getting closed because the park, Venetian Shores Park, in Lindenhurst, there's too much of a crowd there. We all know the real reason why it was going on. What was going on? We all know Rich Schaefer's a phony Democrat. He's really a Republican. All right, let me make that clear. He acts like a Republican in every single way. All right, because he doesn't give a crap about what people in the north part of the town go through, Deer Park and Wyandanch, the trash that they have to deal with, the homeless, the vagrancy, the overcrowded house. He doesn't care about that. He only cares about protecting the mainly white areas. So I'm bringing this up because I'm scared when Long Island does get hit by the next hurricane. And we've seen in the past uh, couple of days what's going to happen when the hurricane does come. The South Shore once again gets all the attention, while the middle will and the middle and the north will be forgotten. We'll be sitting in the dark without power for days and days. Nobody will be forgotten. Nobody will care about us. will be completely forgotten again. And it will be communities of color that will be sitting in the dark, um, and left behind, while the whitest communities on the South Shore get all the attention. I know damn well what the hell is going on here on Long Island. It has everything to do with racism, systematic racism, all right, in this country. This country has had a history of segregation and racism, all right? And what we see in the White House is just a byproduct of that. That's how he got there. And there are a lot of good people in this country who actually care, but unfortunately, the people in power, influenced by racist Wall Street hacks, and this is on both sides. This isn't just the Republicans. I'm not trying to single out just the Republicans because you have racist Democrats too, obviously, as well, especially in New York State. Look at the MTA board. I mean, no escalator Freeport now for what, over a month now. Meanwhile, when the escalator needs work in Merrick or Belmore, boom, it gets done in a week. But or Rockville Center gets done in a week. But no, not Freeport. We all know why that is. It's the same thing again. So when the hurricane comes and we get hit again, and this is one other thing that came out of that documentary about Katrina, it was on the National Geographic Channel, was that after the hurricane, a lot of the people, when they wanted to come back to rebuild, they couldn't. They were kept out. And New Orleans, a lot of wealthier people moved in to New Orleans as a result of that. Doesn't that sound familiar? You know, Long Beach used to be a very blue-collar town. Long Beach used to be very blue-collar and very democratic, too. But since Sandy, so they call it Superstorm Sandy, Hurricane Sandy, whatever, a lot of the poor people, they couldn't afford to rebuild. They moved out, and these rich Wall Street people moved in. And the whole flavor of the city has changed. You know, houses go now for $1 million. It's very desirable. I see a lot, I mean, a lot of Trump flags there all over the place. They're everywhere. In Long Beach, you would never imagine that years ago. Long Beach used to be very blue, very Democrat. Now it's very red, because all these rich people from Wall Street coming in and taking over. That's the base of the Republicans, the Wall Street people. I don't want to make this too long of a video, just 3 more minutes. The main reason I wanted to make this video, just talking about how messed up this racism is in this country, and how we were making progress when President Obama got elected, and we just erased all of that in uh, this past half year even. This guy, I'm not going to mention his name. Oh, I already did already, but this is what we got in this country: a legacy, a history of racism. And when the hurricane comes, I'm scared because even though I'm white, I will face the same kind of discrimination because disabled people get treated the same way. Um, they have to evacuate Long Island. Thank God we have public transportation systems. New Orleans doesn't. But what happens if the Long Island Railroad decides, oh, we're going to charge $500 to evacuate people? I mean, that could happen. You don't know. If you say if a big hurricane came to Long Island, I wouldn't want to be sticking around Long Island. I'd want to evacuate. But the reality is, I'll get trapped here. I'll be without power. I'll be without transportation. If a big hurricane comes, like a Category 3, there will be no power. There could be no sewers. We already had that a little bit in Sandy. Might be no water. We'll be stuck and to fend for ourselves once again. So the real disaster isn't the hurricane, because hurricanes, yeah, they are getting worse due to climate change. The hurricanes have always happened. They're part of this planet's climate. It's how we react to them. We need to treat everybody fairly, get rid of the corruption and the racism, make sure everybody is taken care of. If there's an evacuation, make sure you get everybody out. All right? And when it comes time to rebuild, make sure that those people who lived in that area get priority. Not a bunch of fucking Wall Street people with millions of dollars coming in pricing people out. All right? And yeah, you get hate, you get harassment, you get all this stuff for speaking up against Wall Street. I should know. But you know what? Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to speak up against racism in this country. All right? Then people accuse me of being racist. I have nothing. I don't look at somebody's skin. I look at how they act, how they behave. All right? When I talk about criminals, thugs, illegals, I'm talking about people who behave in a very bad manner, who are up to no good. That's all it is. All right? It has nothing to do with the color of the skin and everything to do with their attitude and the way they act and the way they behave. So don't even get an idea there. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I don't want to make it a long video. I want to get back to enjoying my hike here in the Pine Barrens. And hopefully you got a chance to do some time, spend some time outside too. We got to put an end to racism. It starts with getting rid of the orange buffoon in the White House and throwing out all these racist politicians, not just the racist Republicans, but the racist Democrats, getting these Wall Street hacks, reigning in Wall Street, getting Wall Street out of our lives once and for all. They have no business running the government. They shouldn't be running Wall Street corporations. No, the government is supposed to represent us, the people, not them. It's up to us to take it back. So, thank you for watching. Take care.